Hello, I'm Monsignor Charles Minor.
And I'm Pat Shelton. Welcome back to Real to Real.
You know, Pat, it disturbs me that so many times we begin this program, we don't have no big fanfare, no big choir to sing with us. Do they have a big choir in your parish church?
We have a lovely choir, yes.
They're hard to come by. And I think one of the reasons why they're hard to come by is because the change in music, when we went into English vernacular, it was difficult for us. We had all the great Latin hymns and special choirs sang them. When we got the congregational liturgies, and we had to go where? To our Protestant brothers.
And borrow some
of their good hymns. And now, of course, then we're beginning to build up a whole new repertory of choir music in English, and it's just beautiful to do. But it's a wonderful thing. I don't know if you have a chance to get near any tape recordings or recordings of the old Gregorian chants. But if you do sometime, it'd be interesting for you to put them in as background music. They're very peaceful, very quiet, and they're thought-provoking and very restful as you try to do whatever work you're trying to do.
Okay,
I suggest
Monsignor recommends.
Do you ever listen to any? You'll have no available.
I've heard them.
Availability is tough. Well, availability is not always tough. Now in the Diocese of Trenton, there's a beautiful cathedral choir. We have a special interesting story to tell you about them today and what they mean to the diocese.
And over in the Diocese of Camden, there's a wonderful program for developmentally disabled children. You'll be sure to want to see this.
And now, Pat, you bring other people here, and how do you make these people mix and match?
Well,
I know your guests.
We do have quite a variety, Monsignor, but if you think we have a variety of mix today, you'll be really interested in a movie star and a priest from Trenton, New Jersey, with a common interest, an interest in homelessness. And they are going to show us how they put their faith and their concern for their fellow man into action.
In Trenton, New Jersey, two men have been brought together. One is a diocesan priest known in the community for his passionate work with the homeless. The other, a man from Hollywood, who's best known for his passionate screen performances. But it is their mutual passion for the poor that has brought these two men together on a common ground.
I think people are being very pressured in the New Jersey suburban community. I think the economics of our country has made New Jersey a very, very, very affluent state. So I think you have two major problems in the suburbs. People who have been living there are worried about their own ability to stay in their own communities. And you have the movement of money, which is very insensitive, of people building new homes that are probably too expensive for themselves. So people know about homelessness, know about people being pushed out of places where they live, but I still think they're too preoccupied with themselves to put sufficient energy into facing decent living standards for the poor in the state of New Jersey. We talk a lot, we do very little.
I would certainly say it's not isolated to the state of New Jersey. It's the state of Pennsylvania and the state of New York and the state of California and everywhere in between. There is a serious, serious crisis. There are, in numbers, over 4 million. There are upwards of between 350 to 400,000 children among the homeless in the United States.
I can do nothing more than confront the issue about the number of people who are finding little places to live, not exactly homeless, but I see a lot of people doubling and tripling up, which if we have a recession is going to throw a lot of people into the streets.
In 1981, Real to Real featured Father McCormick, Martin House, and their housing rehabilitation efforts. But Father had been addressing the issues of housing and homelessness long before that time.
In 1978, I began to look at how housing is done. And the only way it's done significantly is with substantial subsidies by the federal government, which pays into a system which I call extortionate profit. And extortionate profit means we can't deliver the numbers in proportion to the need. So we have people being squeezed out of areas, dumped into other areas. My mind and my heart, my Christian sense, made me begin to think that the national economic lifestyle of our country has always produced a permanent underclass. Marginalized people who we want a permanent workforce from, not permanent workers. And all of us benefit in our luxuries when they lose their rights.
Father's idea and the group at Martin House were coming to grips at the root of the problem. And rather than securing shelters or financing for people in their immediate needs, they were allowing people to have the dignity of helping themselves. And that's what has really been at the basic success of the project, is people helping themselves. Yeah, I think it was St. Vincent de Paul that warned us about dealing with the poor and advised that we pray that the poor grant us permission to serve them. And I think that that is really the spirit behind Martin House.
I think especially the Catholic and Christian community, I think, needs to see the idea of the poor differently, that they are not poor, they're economically defenseless, and that we in the American dream of success, which is directly related to money, begin to forget about our needs, not to hurt other people as we get things. And what I see happening is that there's people being pushed out of the economy who are forced in certain areas and live there for a time, and we hit them again. So I think every city, every place around the country begins to have pockets of poor people. 20% of it is their own problem. 80% of it are people who are disorientated because of the harsh abuse of the society we've created.
It was through his work with Atlantic Financial and Mr. Jim Kinney, an executive with that corporation, that Mr. Sheen's association with Martin House began. Although he has been an active fundraiser for Martin House since 1988, it was his desire to make a personal contribution through his work as an actor. He donated his time to help produce a film to acquaint the New Jersey business community with Martin House.
There's so many worthy causes that we're asked to share our good fortune with that we become exhausted. And then we have to begin to choose, well, this one is really doing work here, and that would take care of 3 or 4 others that are sort of similarly connected. Well, what Martin House does to the business community, if I'm correct in this.
You're on the ball so far.
Yeah, yeah, and when you hear this guy's pitch for Martin House, this is a real hustler. I mean, he hustles for God, for the poor. Very powerful fundraiser, man. Yeah, when the church finds out about him, man, they're going to really do all right. But it is to acquaint the business community with Martin House so that they can see a direct result of their contribution and of their involvement. We not only want them to share their wealth with us, we want them to share their hands with us. Come down and join us. Pick up a hammer and a nail, and if you have some skills, share those with us. Get out there and sweat a little bit. They're lawyers and laborers together, black and white together, male and female together, children, all aiding in this building of a New Jerusalem. And that's what it is. It doesn't come about through prayer alone. It comes about through our action. And that's what Martin House is, a very practical extension of the scripture, of the gospel.
The big thing now is trying to get the community to run the whole project. They own all the assets. Another big aspect is we're trying to train some men who are underemployed and unemployed in the inner city, and we're trying to reach out to them. And complementary service, the Martin House has grown in an educational component and a clothing component to try and support the people who are now stable and will live in those houses. We have the Martin House Community for Justice Foundation. Our greatest dream is that we can create this umbrella organization that has a great amount of vigor to face looking at a product that's endemic to America. We wish to make a difference in our lifetime. We are losing values in this country. We do believe there can be a just and decent world. I suggest those men and women, we are going into a planet of 9 billion people. If we don't change our attitudes about possession of things, it is my opinion we'll enter into a world of armed camps of have and have-nots. I don't want to be in a luxurious prison. We can build a better world on Christian values. We ought to do that.
I was once asked by a young reporter while I was at a demonstration against nuclear arms if I was a communist. And I said, no, I'm far worse than a communist. I'm a Catholic. We've become very, very selfish and immune to pain and suffering of other people. And that, in large measure, some of the things we've done to third world is coming home to us now in our own people. And the fabric is ripped to shreds. So we better, for our own sake, begin to address our hearts, our souls, and our economy to the poor. Whatever I can contribute will be in my Father's name.
personalities may be different, the motivation's the same, the grace is true. And so the combination works. McCormick and Sheen.
An interesting combination. And we're going to meet more interesting people when we come right back. Stand by.
Could this Philadelphian be made a saint of the Catholic Church? The answer may be yes. She's Catherine Drexel, beatified by Pope John Paul II in 1988. Now you can experience her adventurous life story on audio cassette. Get America's Catherine Drexel, The Life of a Saintly Woman. Hear about her life through the voices of the people who actually knew her and continue her work today. The cost of this dramatic audio cassette is only $4.95. To order, call 215-587-3775. That's 215-587-3775.
So how old did you say this stuff was? It belonged to my great-grandparents. It's almost 100 years old. Look at this one. Oh, that's the bomb.
That was something real bad, wasn't it?
Sarah, could this thing kill us?
Oh, no. All of the people got together last century and got rid of all of the bombs, and there aren't any left.
Let's give the future back to the children.
Oh, look at this.
From one silver-haired handsome gentleman to another silver-haired handsome gentleman. I don't know how I get so lucky. But my guest today is Brother Thomas O'Grady. He's the executive director of the St. John of God Community Services over in Westville Grove, New Jersey.
That's correct.
Okay, and your vocation over there is a commendable one. You serve developmentally disabled children.
Yes.
Tell us about it, brother.
Well, some 25 years ago, this December 8th, Father Damien O'Shea, with a group of 5 brothers, arrived in Haddonfield. And at that time, they came to set up a class for the developmentally disabled. And from there, we have grown to an early intervention program for from birth to 3 years of age. We have 90 pupils. We have a preschool with 25, a day training with another approximately 30, an elementary and secondary school for 147, and a vocational rehabilitation centre with extended and support employment schemes for another 105. I think that's something like approximately 400.
Approximately 400 young people.
Yes.
And their families. Oh, it must be a great source of comfort to their families. Let's start with the babies, the early intervention from birth to 3 years of age. What do you offer to those parents and families of those children?
Well, as you know, when a baby is born, and sometimes before that, the family are told that the child may have some developmental delays, and we have a variety of programs, and there's an interdisciplinary team, and of course it's very important, an entire supportive system for the family.
Yes.
And you see, we are in the business of ensuring that the infant or the person remains in the family with the maximum support systems.
Yes.
So that we want to obviate the removal of the child from the family.
No less serious is the problem when the child gets older, but I imagine at this beginning, when you have this new baby and the parents haven't had time to adjust to it, that the support with your services is very, very crucial.
Yeah, well, the whole trauma for father and mother, and indeed the other members of the family, you know, is something that has to be worked through, and consequently, the interdisciplinary team are there to enable with the different skills. First of all, to counsel, to support the families, and also to initiate a variety of programs depending on the developmental delay. whether that is emotional, whether it's physical, or whether it's,
Sometimes both.
Both. And
Now, let's move on to the next level, the 3 years to 5 years of age. What is that program?
the preschool.
Preschool.
Now, that's a very important program, for the simple reason is it's at that stage that the child, our preschool would be very different to other preschools in that we are seeking to encourage and to train the pupil to overcome these developmental delays so that they will not be categorized into, if they're categorized early on in life, that tends to stay with them. So we try to empower the child to enter into the mainstream of education rather than to have a specialized program. We recognize that there has to be at all times facilities for special education, but we're all in the business of transitioning children into the mainstream of education. And of course, there's a lot of risks involved. But again, it's a much more intensive program than you would have in a preschool.
And it also
per se.
must be very helpful to the parents too, to give them a rest and to help them
oh yes.
encourage you to. Okay, now moving along to the next level, the day training. This is for the more profoundly underdeveloped.
That's correct, yes. And here, again, the stages, the individual personalized program, developmental program of the individual is very carefully constructed between the interdisciplinary team and the child study teams with participation from the family, mother and father.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we know we go from there to your vocational school, but we are running a little out of time, and I want to make sure that we get in this little pitch for you. I know you are supported by state grants, but we can always use more money. And I understand you're opening a new satellite branch in Elmer, New Jersey. Is that right?
Yes.
And you need seed money, right?
We do.
Okay,
we
now
do.
we're going to have a phone number on the screen, brother, and I'm sure that those interested persons will contact you, and maybe they'll get out a check. But let's be sure to do that if we can. And thank you so much for coming by and telling us about the services of St. John of God Community Services.
Thank you very much.
Now, I want you to stand by for more good news on Real to Real.
The song is an expression of movement of the Spirit and greatness of the diversity of our God.
I'd like to tell you about a program unique to the Diocese of Trenton. The Maternity and Adoption Services of Catholic Charities has established a medical fund which provides counseling, medical services, food, clothing, and shelter for women facing an unplanned pregnancy. By offering these services, they can support the doctrine of our faith and allow women to make the positive choice of life for their unborn children. But they can't do it without your help. Please call 609-394-5181 and pledge your donation to save a life.
Love makes all things new again.
We welcome your comments and suggestions and encourage you to write us at Real to Real, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia 19103, or call us during regular business hours at 215-668-9842.
We have a lot to share. Pat, it's so good of you to bring Brother Thomas to see us. We can share with him all he does, but you have a lot to share. Do you ever think about what you can share in your parish liturgies? You can sing, you can speak out loud. So many people are reluctant, and it's no read my lips kind of thing. You really have to sing. If you get a chance to join the parish choir, do. Because you see, the more you share your talents, the more you're going to do what St. Augustine says, who sings praise twice.
In 1985, dioceses all over the world participated in Renew, a process of personal and parish spiritual growth. Locally, Bishop John C. Reese called upon the people of the Trenton Diocese to participate in the seasons of Renew: the Lord's Call, Our Response, Empowerment, Discipleship, and Evangelization. Even though the final season of Renew ended in 1987, a group of approximately 40 people in the diocese still continue to reach out to others today.
At the beginning of the planning sessions for Renew, the diocese wanted to involve as many people as possible on the diocesan level. And so we thought one way would be to have music ministry involved in a very special way. I'm kind of unofficially the director of music for the diocese. Susan and I kind of coordinate that program, which mainly now centers around the cathedral liturgies.
The choir got started in preparation for the first season of Renew in 1985. Father Conover and myself were members of the Diocesan Liturgical Commission, which was formed to facilitate liturgy planning and execution for the Renew seasons. And we felt that to have a choir for these events would be a way of enhancing the celebrations and allowing the people there celebrating to see what was possible in the realm of choral music as it fits in liturgy. The choir works on a very tight schedule. Preparing for liturgy maybe only 4 to 6 weeks of preparation, and an awful lot of music goes through that period of time, and we start in the choir just thinks, we aren't going to be able to do this, and somehow with the Lord's help we get there and we do a good job.
The Lord calls so many of us in so many different ways, with so many wonderful talents and abilities and ways that we can help to spread the good news. And Renew was all about being messengers and bringers of the good news to other people. And I think one very important way, one very beautiful way that that's done are through people who are willing to share their musical talents, their artistic talents with others. So I think in a great way the choir has fulfilled that call.
The choir members have a good attitude about being together and enjoy singing, not only from the point of view that they're in the cathedral and kind of a big deal, but they seem to get personal and spiritual fulfillment out of being together and making music. And I think as long as the diocese will have them, they'll be there. I'm especially inspired when I work with people who are willing to share themselves, each person, as a disciple. That for me is very spiritually fulfilling. Prayer in song is an expression of movement of the Spirit and greatness of the diversity of our God. And I think that each of us need to express as disciples, not just as ordinary people, but as disciples, the word that's within us. And if the word is expressed in song, then so be it. The choir fills the theme of evangelization by being examples in their own lives of Christianity, in how they donate their time not only to their diocesan choir but to their own parish music ministries and other ministries. And I believe that's what the Lord calls us to do. The choir, as evangelists, takes the Word of God as they experience it in their everyday lives, and takes perhaps the experience of the composer, the prayer of the composer, and gives it voice.
Taking the word in that way and sharing it with others is indeed an ongoing evangelization.
We were only supposed to exist through the seasons of Renew, but after that we were invited to sing for ordinations and our diocesan pilgrimage to Washington, and one thing after another, all of which were unexpected, so I imagine that will continue.
I would like to call members of our diocesan family on that level to think about sharing the gifts and the talents that they have, to come out and to give it a try. We do audition, but we don't bite. The auditions are usually a lot of fun, and all are welcome to give it a try. And if they would like to share their talent with the diocese on that level, we'd love to have them.
I'm glad to get a chance to talk to you again, Pat, because I think another half minute with Brother Thomas, you would have assimilated his accent.
Oh, I love the Irish brogue. It was a treat speaking to him.
How come you didn't begin to imitate him? Because
I was trying
they
not
have
to.
a way of drawing you into that beautiful language, that beautiful lip. But I think being more drawn into his work is more important.
Yes.
And the beautiful work he does. And I hope that many of you can really respond to Brother Thomas's interest and enthusiasm to bring help to assist him in the work that they do. And so we'd like you to consider helping Brother Thomas and the Brothers of John of God, that they can do more in their work.
Yeah, for their new satellite center in Salem County. They need you.
Well, get with it, because we need you and Brother Thomas needs you. And so maybe you can become assimilated as well. Maybe not with the brogue, but there's so many people who need so much help. So from singing to the homeless to those who are impaired in any way at all, they need your help. And why don't you then think about what you can do? Take these relaxing days and support those who need you more than anybody else. And remember, keep singing. God bless you.
Good night, everybody.
Travel arrangements for Reel to Reel by Atkinson and Mullen, Newtown Square, PA, 215-359-5980.